and who knows Draymond just a little bit, and also knows coaching just a little bit. His name's Tom Izzo. Joins us now on Willard and Dibs. Hey, Coach, how are you?
How you guys doing, man? I'm actually in California, believe it or not. I'm at the airport. I was out here for our Big Ten meetings, inviting our new Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA to the Big Ten.
That's just weird, Coach, to be out here for the Big Ten meetings.
Is there any chance you guys discussed letting us have them back?
Yeah, you can have them back. I don't want to travel all the way out here either.
Yeah, there we go. Coach, it's a real treat to have you. What kind of coach do you think Draymond Green would be? Before you answer, take a listen to why we're asking. Listen to this comment he made on John Wall's podcast recently about a talk between him and Joe Lacob.
With the conversations that I've had with Joe Lacob over the years, and him saying to me, like, yo, when you're done, I can see you one day coaching this team when Steve's done. Like, I can see you working with this team. Like, I would love to see that. That means the world to me, because that means the man that owned the organization that I play for is watching me play basketball and saying, this guy can one day coach my team.
What kind of coach in the NBA do you think Draymond Green would be?
Well, guys, you might not believe this, but there was a couple times that we're playing in the NCAA tournament, and Draymond would be calling my guy, Austin Thornton, who he played with in college, telling him what to tell me to do on a pick and roll or ball screens and all that during the game. I mean, Draymond is a passionate human being. First of all, I'd like to say this. I hope Steve Kerr stays forever, because Steve Kerr, to me, has been one of the greatest, and it's been an unbelievable relationship there. I love Steve Kerr. But as far as Draymond goes, in every way, shape, or form, I think he'd be a phenomenal coach. He's got an incredible basketball IQ, incredible. He's passionate. He is demanding. I think in every way he'd be good. He'd make adjustments. He'd do all those things. Where I think he'd have the problem is the same place Magic Johnson had a problem when he went with the Lakers, is I think it would be hard for him to watch other guys not do the things that he would do, and maybe he couldn't get that through. Now, maybe he would get that through, but it's just not as easy as you think when you coach. So I think in every way he'd be great. He would just maybe struggle a little bit, because whether, you like everything about Draymond, which I do, but, he plays so hard, and he's such a team guy, and sometimes some guys don't play as hard and aren't as good at team guys, and that's the only area I think he'd struggle in.
What about the idea of emotional control? Is that something that he'd be able to contain, not being on the court and having the adrenaline? Feels to me like over the course of 82 games, you might see some of those classic Draymond flare-ups.
Well, that would be I know one set of people that probably wouldn't like, Draymond can get mad during a game at a bad call on him and maybe go off a little bit. But when you're the coach, you got to protect all five of your guys. So any bad calls on any of the five guys, he might go off on. So I do think he could lead the league in technicals in some way. But at the same time, believe it or not, Draymond, he doesn't get credit. And I know I've been on show, I've listened to people talk about him. He's really, really smart. And usually, we all have our moments. I've had a few myself. But usually, he's making educated decisions. Sometimes you get a technical to get your team going, is what I'm saying, and things like that. But that would be, hard, because he's always looking out for five guys, not just himself, like you do sometimes when you get upset on calls, But I think he'd find a way to work around that. I really, really, really do. It would be, could he put up with people not doing the things that he does when he's in charge of all of them? He sometimes is a coach on the floor if you really look at him. I always coined the phrase back when I had him, a player-coach team is better than a coach-coach team, and he was a damn good coach on the floor.
The great Tom Izzo, of course, Draymond's college coach, Michigan State, with us here, Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Coach, here's my question about that, and it's sort of, I guess, one that calls for a little bit of guesswork, but how much of that behavior, that emotion that we see from Draymond is because he's playing. In other words, would he be kind of a different human being if he were the coach and not the player?
Well, like you said, I don't know if any of us know the answer. The best part of the answer that I know is, for the most part, he's calculated what he does. He's very intelligent, and I think he would adjust. Like we can say, well, sometimes he doesn't adjust. He's got the technical here. He's done this there. But, for the most part, like, I thought he had a really good year this year, shot the ball as well as he has. I think Draymond can adjust to a lot of things, and I think one of the things he would adjust to would be that. Steve Kerr, like I said, to me, him and his staff have done a phenomenal job over the years that Draymond's been there. But at the same time, I think Draymond does do a lot of coaching on the floor, Sometimes it bothers some people. But most of the time, he's pretty right on what he's talking about. It's how you get that through to today's superstars that might be a little more challenging for him.
What's the toughest adjustment you've had to make in the modern day and age as opposed to the way you coached maybe 30 or 40 years ago? Things that Draymond would have to do with, players who are now going to be 15 or 20 years younger than him, players who would need to be coached differently.
Hey, 30, 40 years ago, don't make me out to be 100, my God.
Well, you were coaching 30, 40 years ago, right, Coach?
I deserve it. I got you. But anyway.
Sorry about that.
You do have to make adjustments. He's got it a little easier, though, in pro ball, because if he gets mad at a kid, the guy's still got a contract. If I get mad at him, they just leave the next day. That's the new transfer portal. I get mad at the coach and leave, or don't like the way you're playing and leave. And that's one thing I think it reminds me of where the loyalty Draymond's had over the years to Michigan State, to me, to Golden State Warriors, to those guys. I think it's phenomenal. He's gotten upset with people that want to leave even there, and definitely in college. He's really good with his loyalty, and it is adjustment for all of us, what we got to do. But at the same time, I would adjust. I've adjusted some. I think he would adjust. I just think it's hard when you've been a player that plays so hard and so team-oriented player, that sometimes in this day and age, it's a little more selfish, even in college. And that would be hard for Draymond, but I think he'd adjust. I really do.
Coach, I'm a big fan of people not being defined by their worst moments. And so I get why it's hard to remove what happened with Jordan Poole from this conversation a year and a half ago. But how would you describe Draymond normally as a leader of younger players?
I think awesome. And I'm not with him now like I was, but he was so good here, and I've watched him be good, listen, I'm not going to get into the Jordan Poole thing because I wasn't there, and you ever wanted to get that far? Probably not. Do I think it got that far for some reasons? Probably. I don't think he just had a bad day and hauled off, so maybe there was some reasons, but you couldn't do that as a coach, punch a player now, you got 15 lawyers after you, so you can't do that as a coach. But he wouldn't do that. He'd adjust, and I wish, I tell him all the time, I want him to end his career because you don't want to take away his aggressiveness. You don't want to take away his passion. But I don't want him to be known as those things. I want him to be known as, to me, one of the great winners in the game, because he does all the dirty work to help guys win. When you really think about it, if it's making a pass, Draymond never cares. The only thing he used to threaten me with is he wanted to get 10 rebounds a game or more. So if I take him out with 3 minutes left, and he always knew how many rebounds he had. and he'd tell me he's going back in. Did you hear what I said? He didn't ask me. He told me he was going back in. And I said, sure, go ahead. But then my favorite was he'd go to, if the team was shooting a free throw, he'd get in that first line and he'd tell the other guys, don't go after the ball. I'm getting every missed rebound to get his 10, So he was awesome like that. I just loved him.
Coach, I want to apologize. I hit you with 30 or 40, and it's only been 29 years at Michigan State. So I rounded up, and I'm better than that, and I just want you to know that I'm sorry for painting you as a guy who's been around for 30 or 40 years.
You know what? That's a compliment. It's a backhanded compliment. But in this profession, to survive as long as I've survived at a school, that's a compliment. So I'm just kidding you guys. But it has been cool, the continuity that they've had, too. You know, I mean, they've had some great continuity over the years. And, you know, I was hoping they could stay healthy. You know, I was hoping they'd make a run. Usually at this time of year, I'm coming up to watch a playoff game.
Yeah.
And I'd really like to do that again. Maybe next year that happens. And then let's hope that Steve Kerr stays a few more, Draymond stays a few more. And when that's over, you know, maybe he can either be the coach of the Warriors or he can come over and be the coach of Michigan State and send me to the sideline.
There's a thought. Hey, Coach, real quick, has he ever expressed to you interest in coaching?
You know, he never said it right out to me that he'd like to be a coach. But when he comes back in the summer, when he's back and he's telling me how to cover a pick and roll, and he's doing a lot of coaching. He might not even realize it. And when I told you he was calling me on the bench, I mean, we're playing Duke in the NCAA tournament, and he's calling the bench and telling them, you know, or one time we played him at home and got our butts beat. And after I got a 2-hour lecture in my office on how I should have covered some things differently, you know. And as I sat there and was half mad at him, I said to myself, God darn it, he was right on the money. So I tell you, he's a guy that, you know what, it'd be a privilege to have a guy like Draymond come work here after I was done. It'd be a privilege to see him in the NBA. But, boy, with his TNT deal there, the way he handles himself there, I mean, he might be replacing Barkley someday. So who knows? Draymond's going to have some options because we look at, as you say, the couple of moments that maybe you wish wouldn't have happened. But there's so many good moments that you're happy that did happen. And you know, I stick up for him because I believe in him, because I know how he is on a day-to-day basis. And I think it'd be interesting. It would be a little difficult, as I said, because he'd struggle with people doing their job, you know, or being prepared. I mean, and that's one thing he was, boy. He knew a scouting report inside and out in college, and I think he's the same in Pro Bowl.
Coach, what a treat to have you. Fly safe. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you, and hopefully I'll see you next year.
Indeed.
Thanks, Tom.
We hope the same. There he goes. Tom Izzo, live from the Aeropuerto.
Yes.
Joining